Welcome to FNF Victory Road Team Analysis. In this series, I'll be analyzing teams that participated in the draft league, sometimes with the coach also in the voice chat with me having a discussion. And in this case, that's actually what we'll be doing today as we analyze Grand Island Jolteons. I have Qazeymoto with me on the call, so if you want to say hello.
Yo, what's up?
So Qazeymoto's here with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about his experience in the FNF Victory Road Draft League as Grand Island Jolteons. Before we go into that, before he had this team, actually, this team was Napkin's team, and Napkin was originally the person who made Grand Island Jolteons. Unlike the other team that had a coach change, Qazeymoto actually chose to keep the name Grand Island Jolteons, so it is the same name the whole time, but the first 2 weeks it was actually Napkin and not him. So on this slide, I have his initial draft, and overall, I think he was going for... He had a lot of really physically based Pokemon. Silvally, Tyrantrum, Mudsdale, and then he had a few special Pokemon too, Mega Sceptile, Thundurus, and Lucario could kind of go either way. And then
I was kind of relying on Thundurus for my special attack because a lot of the good ones were physical. That's why I brought him to every single game.
Yeah, it hits hard. And then initially he also drafted quite a few defensive Pokemon too, Clefairy, Uxie, Mudsdale. So I would say that this is actually kind of a balanced team on the scale of like 1 being stall and 10 being hyper offense. I'd actually put it probably at a 5 or 6, like in between 5 and 6. So this is actually one of the more balanced style teams, because it could really defend or attack. And
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, I didn't draft the team, but like I saw that you said you were gonna ask this question, and I was like, if I was the person drafting it, then I looked at it kind of like a balanced kind of team.
Yeah, right. Compared to some of the other ones, especially, like even mine, where I consider it balanced, it leans a little bit more towards offense. This one seems like very true balance. Like there's an option for everything, which is really interesting. And I'm curious to see why you made the changes you made, which we'll discuss a little later down the line. So yeah, so we're moving into the battle record, and so those first 2 matches versus the Great Tacticians and Elemental Dragons weren't you, but so you had 8 matches as this team. Overall, in terms of the trends, how do you think you did with the battle record?
I mean, I think I did pretty good. Like, it was even, I think, 4-4.
Yeah.
On the matches that I... Like, some of the matches, obviously, this is my first time doing, like, any kind of competitive Pokemon. So, I think the fact that I took 4 was pretty decent. And I knew what I did wrong on the ones that I lost, so... like, knowledge for the future, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with a certain ability.
Oh man.
Yeah. we'll definitely get into that. Yeah, this was a pretty even one. Aside from the initial... the initial 2 battles where it was flipped. You had a loss and then a win. It was pretty much win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. So, for someone whose first time... someone who it was their first time getting into the draft league, you did pretty decently, especially considering a lot of the other people here had experience in the preseason draft league. So, definitely kudos for that. And the unfortunate thing about people dropping out is that you get their record for better or for worse. And I'm really curious to see actually if you would have made it into the playoffs if you had a clean slate, like if you didn't inherit 2 losses. But if you decide to join the next league, maybe we'll see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, you did a really good job. Was there a particular team that you were really excited to go against?
I mean, I didn't like put that much thought into it, to be honest. Like, I can't really just look at the roster and say, oh yeah, that's gonna be fun, that's gonna be interesting. But I guess maybe you, because I wanted to see if I could have a chance, because 9 wins, 0 losses. I didn't, but I don't know. I guess it was kind of exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting for me too, because I definitely knew that when you told me that, because I think you told me like you were the last thing in my way of getting a perfect score in the regular season. I was like, oh boy, he's definitely gonna bring it then, because he's gonna try to bring me down. So yeah, that was a really fun one. And you actually, fun fact, just what I noticed, you never had an even score. It was always sorry, you never had an odd score. It was always even.
What?
Just like the differential. It was never an odd number.
Oh yeah, like I had a 0 differential up until the last battle.
Yeah, actually. And I guess the differential reset was good for you, because otherwise you would have carried -6 more. But yeah, it kind of sucked that you had to inherit 2 losses coming in. But I was still glad that you did come in and you were able to play, because you brought some interesting things, and you actually had some surprise. Especially one of the wins was, I would consider an upset.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, so we'll definitely talk about that one too. So we'll actually move forward into the battles now, and I'll go through the napkin battles really quickly. The first one was Great Tacticians versus Grand Island Jolteons. This one was a pretty standard battle. When I reviewed this with Benji, I didn't really have much to say at that point either, just because it was pretty standard. Pokemon just trading hits. There wasn't that much stall going on. It was pretty straightforward. And that was a +3, -3, -3 for Grand Island Jolteons. And then the second battle, Elemental Dragons. This one was interesting because actually Napkin had the lead for the first, I'd say 60% of the battle. But he had a lot of trouble taking down Clefable, and once he lost Silvally Steel, he didn't have a Clefable counter, so Clefable was able to boost. It had Unaware as well, and eventually just ripped through the team. And as you can see in the differential to Clefable, 4 kills, no death. So
yeah, it kind of just tore through it at the end, I see.
Yeah. So that was Napkin's brief involvement in the league. Unfortunately, he had some personal things going on, so he has to drop out. But so now this is where you come in. We talked a little bit about the team, but what were some of the thoughts you had, aside from it being a balanced team? What were some of the things you thought about the team when you inherited it?
I mean, I thought it was like, honestly, I thought it was kind of bad, but I didn't really know what anything like meant at that point. I was kind of just going off like basic knowledge, like stuff that I kind of heard. But I was hoping I could get some wins, impress people, because there was 2 losses. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll win everything. That didn't happen. But yeah, I thought, this will be the big comeback. That's why I kept the name. I was like, carry on Napkin's legacy,
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, I didn't know enough about Pokemon to really have a strong opinion on the team.
Well, did you ever end up actually using Ninjask or Glaceon?
I thought about using Glaceon once, but then I looked at like the damage it would do, and I'm like, no, it's not a good idea. And I really wanted to use Ninjask just for baton pass speed boost. But the second someone sees Ninjask like in the starting thing, they kind of already know exactly what you're gonna do, and they can play around it pretty easily. So I didn't find a good situation to use that, but it would have been funny if I did.
Also, in Gen 7, baton pass is banned in OU, so Ninjask is not very good because of that now.
Oh, like the move is outright, like you just can't use it? I thought it was just like that clause where you can only have a baton pass and one boosting move.
Yeah, you just outright can't use it.
Oh, well, there goes that idea. Ninjask is garbage. Never mind.
Yeah, really sad. All right, well that's pretty interesting, considering that you had some pretty good matches, and I think you did have a nice comeback story, to be honest. You were actually, up until week 10, there was a lot of people who were deconfirmed, but you were still one of the last one. I think you were actually the last one to be deconfirmed for the playoffs. So you hung in there, and you definitely had a pretty good record. So let's look at it at the first match. This was versus Butcher Blissies, and this was your first encounter with Contrary.
Yes, the first and not the last.
So tell me a little bit about the pace of the match, and then that turning point.
This match, I did a lot of planning. Like, I was like thinking about it. I was excited for a while. I was looking at like the numbers on each of them, but I looked at the stats. Right, I was on Pokemon Damage Calculator, but I didn't look at the abilities. And so when I saw Lurantis, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be easy, you know. I'll just take it out, then I'll claim my win. And then it uses Leaf Storm. I'm like, okay, yeah, so now it's done. And it went up by 2, and I'm like, what's going on? I thought it was like a bug or something. I thought like something was wrong. And then it did it again, and it went up by 2 again. And the thing is, I had a Pokemon that could have killed it. I think it was like Mudsdale maybe, but I don't know. I can't remember. But I was panicking at that point, so I kind of just threw it away. I was just like randomly switching Pokemon, and then I just lost. So I was like, I kind of had it at the beginning, and then the second Contrary came out, I just broke down.
Yeah, that was really the turning point, and I'd say it was like your match for at least 70 or 80% of the match in the beginning. You were winning.
Another thing about this match is the reason I stopped bringing Klefki was because of that Tapu Fini interaction.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of regret that, because priority status would have been really nice in a lot of the later battles. So I wish I just like thought about it a bit more and realized that like I could have just like played around it a bit. But no, in my mind I'm like, nah, Klefki's useless. I was thinking of trading it too. Even at like, I should have used it more. No, the more that I think about it.
It's unfortunate because Klefki and Yuxi both really like status. Like, they like to Thunder Wave things, but because of Misty Terrain, it's really hard. That's the reason I actually don't really like Tapu Fini that much, because I feel like it would do really well if it was able to Scald, but it can't. So, I mean, it can, it just can't burn, so missed opportunity. But yeah, I think this match was definitely a little bit of a learning experience in looking at abilities.
I clearly did not learn,
but
because
yeah, we'll see later on. But after that, you actually did make a trade. You traded
best trade
for Wobbuffet.
There's no question about it.
Yeah. So why did you make that trade?
I was just looking for Wobbuffet on the list, hoping that he wasn't taken, and then I saw him. I saw Silvally. I'm like, I don't really like this Pokemon, so I just traded whatever I had for Wobbuffet. It's like my favorite, Pokemon looks trash, but it's very useful. So
And you did have some
I had
hype
to take
moments with Wobbuffet, so
yeah, my favorite moment was with Wobbuffet. I think you know which one it is.
yeah, I definitely know which one it is. All right, so we're moving into Bayside Divers, and this one was your first win. So in this one, it was actually pretty decently spread out. How the Pokemon did. Lux, I think you had a good grip on it, and then Luxray came in and really gave you a little bit of a scare.
I didn't know what Guts did either. I forgot that existed. Another ability mess up. So I was wondering why it was burned. It did a lot of damage.
The Draft League was like the Qazeymoto ability tour.
Yeah, it's like when you go into Pokemon school at the beginning. It's just like, here's what Pokemon abilities do.
But overall, you did win it, even with Luxray doing that brief scare. So kudos on that. It was, once you got Luxray down, I think you had a better grip on the match.
Yeah, this battle was kind of just like about I just used the right moves, cause this one I think Roland didn't switch out. Like he knew what I was gonna do. I think if he switched out, it would have been much more difficult for me, cause I was kind of just spamming moves that would have killed. So I don't know. It was a good battle. I liked it.
Yeah, I think this was the start of your getting to know this team a little bit better, especially with your own unique Pokemon on it, Wobbuffet.
Yeah.
And so we go into Rio Grande Rapidash, and speaking of Wobbuffet, this is actually the battle where you got a very hype Wobbuffet moment.
The Wobbuffet, he saved me there with that Destiny Bond.
So
Custap Berry.
Yeah, it was a Custap Berry, and you were able to take out the biggest threat to your team that was really running circles.
It was kind of like
team.
bodying me at the end.
Yeah.
Wobbuffet just.
Yeah.
But this was a pretty interesting battle actually. It was like it was really close. There was a lot of back and forth, and then at the end there, Uxie really saved me because Landorus was Choice Scarf, and this happens. This exact situation happens again.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny to me. I have two things happening at the contrary and this.
Yeah, right?
Levitate, Earthquake, Choice Scarf. The exact same thing.
That's actually really funny. That was really interesting at the end. I remember commentating it and being like, oh boy, if this thing is scarfed, then it has to choose whether to take down this Lucario and not be able to take down Uxie, or go on the chance that it could take down both. And yeah, that's what really determined it.
Yeah.
But Wobbuffet's Destiny Bond, that was very pivotal. That I think opened the door for you to get the win.
Yeah, it was kind of making a comeback with that Pokemon, and then Wobbuffet.
That was so high.
The momentum. It was amazing. I was smiling the entire time.
One of the more memorable moments, honestly, of the whole league battles.
Yeah.
So
that's
next,
just why I love this Pokemon. It's such a meme.
Yeah, right? It's a good thing we dodged what Noob Scrub was planning, though. I'm glad you didn't know.
I wish I didn't. That's the worst moment in the league, not switching in Wobbuffet.
So you also got another switch, which was Mega Glalie. So, what was your thought process behind getting Mega Glalie?
I just wanted a strong ice type, but honestly, to be completely honest, I kind of regret this one, because later on I learned that speed is extremely important in Pokemon, like a lot more important than I thought it would be, which is a big factor in the next battle actually.
Yeah.
And Mega Sceptile is extremely fast, so there's a lot of times where I would have liked to have him switch him in. I think Napkin also kind of maybe was not didn't pick up on that because he didn't bring a Mega Sceptile either.
Yeah, I'm surprised. No appearance from Mega Sceptile, actually. I think it was the only Mega not to make an appearance.
Yeah, I was just like, I didn't pick up on what his strengths were until after I traded him. And Mega Glalie was strong, and it was a good like addition, but I think Mega Sceptile had more uses.
I'm really sad that Mega Glalie isn't faster than it is, because that would make it an absolute beast. But because of its speed, it's a little harder to use.
Yeah, it's a threatening Pokemon, but sometimes it just dies.
Yeah. So your next battle versus Dutch Inke's Quest's team, and you mentioned Mega Glalie speed coming into a factor in this one.
Yeah, his team outsped me in like kind of every aspect, and honestly, this was probably the worst one for me. Like the worst battle I did. There was a lot of stupid things. At the beginning, he had a Victini out, and I had Glalie, and I knew he was gonna use Trick. I saw it before at like one of the battles I watched. But I switched out to Mudsdale. But I wish I kept Mega Glalie in, because he has the Mega Stone. He can't have his item switched.
Yeah.
And I had Earthquake. So I would have been in a much better situation if I kind of just thought about it a bit. Because I knew what was going to happen. I just didn't pick the best option.
Yeah, I wonder what would have happened if you went for the Earthquake.
And then later on, he had Hydreigon out against Thundurus, and I was wondering why. Like, it didn't really make any sense because I outsped him, and I had a Focus Blast. But I should have known that he was just trying to bait out the Z Crystal and use something else. And then he switched to Golbat. Once again, a very bad situation for him. And I just go ahead and use Thunderbolt, not thinking, like, I should have known that he was going to switch in that situation. So there was a lot of bad plays on my part, to be honest.
This definitely would have been a good team to whip out the Trick Room on.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about speed at that point. This is the battle after that where I'm like, yeah, speed is pretty important.
Yeah. Or lack of speed if you are running Trick Room.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of which, here comes the battle where you did use Trick Room, and you used it pretty effectively. What made you want to use Trick Room versus Tiller? Was it the experience of being outsped last week?
Yes, it was definitely. I'm like, this is the exact same thing's gonna happen again. It's time to open up Uxie and use Trick Room. And the thing is, this battle I made, like, I kind of like blundered my way into the win. Like, I wasn't really like that ending with the Choice Scarf and the Uxie. I didn't even think about that. I didn't know that existed, and it kind of just worked out. So there was a bit of luck involved, but I think it was a good idea to bring Trick Room.
Yeah, it definitely was, especially because Mudsdale was able to get some powerful moves on too. I mean, I know Tyrantrum was the one that really clinched it at the end, but Mudsdale played a big role into that too. So
yeah, I was sleeping on Tyrantrum before this. Like, I thought didn't think he was that good.
Oh yeah, Tyrantrum.
But then I looked at the stats on Rockhead, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
it might be time to bring him out.
Tyrantrum was actually the Pokemon I feared most in our battle, so...
Yeah, but that, Focus Sash.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later, but...
Alright, so... very good upset versus Tiller. Tiller's team is not difficult to take down, so this was a very impressive win in my opinion. And then we go to Whooper Blooper. So
once again, Contrary comes back with even more powerful than before.
Yeah, Lurantis is not very good of a Pokemon, but Superior
is quite a good Pokemon.
I think your only hope was really to use Yawn on Yuxi. And when you didn't, I remember just thinking, oh man.
Yeah, that was...
Oh man. So...
And I knew after that, I even said it, like, directly after the battle, I'm like, why didn't I use Yawn? But, you know, just in the moment, you know, you're a bit nervous, just mashing.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yep.
But I think
honestly,
after...
I probably would have still lost it, even if I didn't, like, that team looked very tough for me.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, even if I did get that Yawn off, I don't think it would have gone much different. I wouldn't have gone 6-0'd, hopefully. But yeah, that wasn't a very good one.
Hopefully after this one, you went on the Contrary page and just researched every single Pokemon that has Contrary, and you're like, okay, I know who all of you are.
Anytime I see them, I'll just instantly forfeit. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to see another Leaf Storm in my life.
Yeah, Contrary is a menace. It's very hard to deal with, very momentum building, especially on Superior. I remember actually Lionhugs was like, why is Superior tier 1? Because Superior is actually Lionhug's favorite starter, and I was like, Contrary. That's what it is, Contrary. Once you get a Leaf Storm up, like, it's very hard to take down. So yeah, that was the hard way to learn that lesson.
A very hard way. Next
is the American Braviaries, and thank God,
the most regretful battle.
Thank God that what was supposed to happen didn't happen.
I made a serious mistake.
Noob Scrub wanted to bring in Pyukumuku to use block on Wobbuffet, but thankfully you didn't get the memo.
Turn battle.
Yeah, so
if he told me, I definitely would have switched. No question about it.
Oh man, commentating that would have been a nightmare. But instead, you actually got the 6-0. After getting 6-0'd, you got the 6-0 this week.
Yeah, so I was happy about that because I brought my differential to 0. But Noob Scrub was kind of just memeing, so... Because he had Tapu Bulu out, and its Woodhammer would have really just put a dent in whatever it hit. It would have killed whatever it hit, actually. Instantly. That's why I kept Tapu Fini in, because I was dead anyways on... So I could tell he was just kind of playing around. So it wasn't that.
I don't think he runs Woodhammer on it, actually. He usually goes for Horn Leech instead.
No, that would have been weird, because it's a very strong Pokemon.
Yeah, he likes to play a little more defensively.
I could tell. The Stall King.
Yeah, King of Stall. That's him. But yeah, this was a strong week for you, despite the... depending on how you see it, I see it as a thank God.
It was the worst week. It was the worst week.
But for this, you actually got the MVP role for Thundurus, which you had named Ver that week.
Yeah, I was going for the... Because I did Bruh once, so I changed it out with a V.
The Vra.
Yeah.
But very, very good performance. I think once you got the nasty plot up, it was only a matter of time for it to sweep.
Mm-hmm. Once again, speed is showing how important it is.
Yeah. And then the last battle was actually versus me. So...
Okay, so I have kind of an excuse for this one. So I already postponed the battle like 3 times at that point. So I kind of just made a team, and like whatever, you know, I'll fix it up in the battle. I'll do some research. That did not happen, obviously. I think I should have brought Klefki for this one, to be honest. I think priority status moves would have been pretty useful, just to like cripple some of your Pokemon. Yeah. And I should have put more coverage moves, like a dark move somewhere or something. And the funny thing is, after you got that Focus Sash on Volcarona, I was thinking about it for like a good minute whether or not I should put what's that priority ice move called?
Ice Shard?
Yeah, I was thinking of putting that on Glalie. But then like, nah, I won't need it.
I was so
But
scared you had it.
I did need it.
In terms of this battle, actually, I'm not gonna lie, when I was looking at your team, I was like, oh wow, Volcarona really just destroys this team. But one thing I was scared of was status, and for a while, actually, I had Lumberry on Volcarona while I was team building for the longest time, and then right before the match, I was like, you know what? No, I don't think I'm going to need it because of Misty Terrain. So I was like, I'm going to need Focus Sash just in case Tyrantrum tries to one-hit KO me. And that's exactly what happened.
It was scarfed. It was scarfed, so it almost got it.
Yeah, I was really scared of that. But once I figured out it was scarfed, then I knew, okay, all I need to do is Quiver Dance and then I'll outspeed and then I could go for it. But yeah, the Tyrantrum was what I feared most because that thing just... Even my Lotic, which was my defensive wall, head smashed it 50%. So like all I could do was recover stall and hope you missed.
Yeah, I noticed I was getting PP stalled. I'm like, oh no, I need to switch out. But yeah, I think I could have done a bit better if I did some more team building actually, but it's all in the past. Now I know that, but in the time.
Well, you still got to get the rematch, so...
Yes, I do really need to get that rematch.
So that was the final battle, and now we're looking at the overall Pokemon, how they did. Thundurus being your strongest one, Tyrantrum also being up there, and Tapu Fini being overall the weakest. How do you...
I don't think it was the weakest. Like, it was a very... It like walled out a lot of, like it stopped a lot of stuff from happening.
True. That isn't reflected in the differential. Usually walls look worse in the differential than they actually were. So that's true. What do you think was the weakest? Like, what do you think was the Pokemon that you used that you didn't feel comfortable using most?
Maybe Mudsdale. I don't know. This is a tough. At the beginning it would have been Klefki, but now I know how good it could have been if I actually used it properly. But Mudsdale's kind of polarizing because he was very strong, but I had to have band on it, and it was extremely slow. So if I didn't use it right, I would have just gotten blown up, and it would have been worthless.
That's interesting because I thought that you used Mudsdale overall pretty decently, especially in the match versus Tiller. You used it pretty good.
Yeah, or Delphox, I kind of just threw him in without too much thought.
Oh yeah, throwing in Delphox versus Mega Sharpedo.
Yeah, just switching it in on a Mega Sharpedo, not the best idea.
Well, the story behind that one was that you calculated for Sharpedo instead of Mega Sharpedo, right?
Yeah, because the regular one shows up first, and then the Mega goes on the bottom.
Yeah. And
I wasn't trying to take any longer than I already had, so I just kind of clicked.
So...
But...
Yeah, I remember commentating that and being like, what?
I mean, it worked out in the end. But
yeah, true.
It wasn't the best plan.
What was your favorite Pokemon to use?
Obviously, I gotta say Wobbuffet, just because of 3-3. You know, that's very telling of what it does.
That's actually really good for Wobbuffet, because Wobbuffet's is a little bit more passive than, like, it's definitely not a sweeper. So the fact that it has 3-3 is pretty good.
It just kind of helps set up, really. It's fun to use, though. It's interesting, you know.
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing you use Wobbuffet for sure. I was actually scared in my match that you'd have like a wonky set on Wobbuffet, like the Bug Resist Berry Mirror Coat versus Volcarona. Or something like that, because I was fishing so hard for Volcarona to get #1 MVP in that battle, so I knew I needed to use Volcarona, so I was like, oh gosh, he's gonna try to stop my Volcarona.
I mean, maybe if I I wouldn't have known that, to be honest with you. Completely honest.
Yeah, I was trying to be super discreet about that and not say anything.
Just trying to style on me.
I was just, I was kind of glad that you postponed, because everyone who went before me was my competition in the MVP race, so I knew exactly how many kills I needed to get first place in the MVP race. So I was like, okay, that's actually a blessing, I guess, because I really wanted to go early, but I was like, actually, it's not that bad that I had to wait.
I was just a stepping stone for your plans.
I mean, regardless of who it was, I was going to try to find a way to get Volcarona to be number one. That's why Startoad was in our match when Volcarona got the third kill, and he was like, no, because that's when I passed Mega Swampert.
Oh, so you just needed one.
No, it was the third
no
kill.
Deaths. Oh, third. Oh,
yeah.
I heard first.
I needed 2 kills, no deaths, or 3 kills, 1 death to tie with Mega Swampert, and then I needed +1, so 3 kills, no death, or 4 kills, 1 death to
If only I had that ice shard.
Yeah, I was so scared of that ice shard. I was like, oh no, please.
I was thinking about it for a really long time. Now I wish I did bring it.
Yeah, priority saves you. Actually, versus Toad, I had Ice Shard on Pilot's Wine. That saved me for sure.
I think I remember that. Was that the?
Yeah, the semifinal.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, overall, I think this was definitely a good learning experience, considering you hadn't been into competitive Pokemon. So, moving on to, I guess, the final questions. What would you say you picked up from this league in terms of like your perspective? How did things change in your perspective?
Obviously, like speed. I talked about that a bunch. How like even if you have a one-hit KO, if you're at 50% and they can outspeed you, then it doesn't really matter. And I wasn't really thinking about that until after this, where I got kind of destroyed by just getting outsped, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing, like it's not so much about just killing the other Pokemon in one hit, you know. It's better to just have a Pokemon at like 40% and then like take it out later than like trying to switch out to something that I was gonna kill it in one hit, which I was kind of always just going for that one hit KO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Trying to whittle down a Pokemon to where you could comfortably take it out instead of trying to one-hit KO everything. That's a really important lesson to learn, I think, in Pokemon. Especially if you have like entry hazards up, it could really add up too. So, do you think you'll be interested in joining future leagues?
Probably. I mean, I think I could do all right. I don't know. I'll definitely be getting Wobbuffet again. That's the priority.
Cuss that berry priority.
Yep.
Yeah, I personally would like to see you draft a team of your own and see how you do with that one, based on what you learned in this league using a team that you hadn't drafted.
Yeah, I think a big thing was like knowledge, like a lot of interactions. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but now I you gotta learn it. That takes time. That's like the biggest thing, you know. You have to know how things work.
Yeah,
and what the other person's gonna do.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any final thoughts on just the league as a whole? Any of the other teams on the league, any of the other coaches, some of the other battles maybe that you might have seen, anything in general that you want to say as we close up here?
I don't know, like it was fun, you know. Didn't get that the legendary flawless, but you know, I won a couple games. I'll take that. and I definitely want a rematch against you.
Yeah, you did really well, again, for someone who just started versus a lot of people who had been doing this for a while. I think you definitely played really well.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. It was kind of stressful, you know, hoping that I'm gonna win, but after the battle, it's always fun to think about what you did.
Yeah.
Even if you lose, it's enjoyable. Like, you can think, oh, maybe if I did this, I didn't know that would happen.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they had that.
Yeah, I like that kind of analysis a lot. I think it's really valuable moving forward. And I'm also curious to what your team name would be, since you actually didn't change your team. So you're the only person who didn't have a team name that they chose. So I'm curious to see if it would be like a Wobba Fett theme or if it would just be something else.
I mean, if I was gonna make it Wobba Fett theme, I have the perfect, pitiful punching bags. You know, it's because Wobba Fett's a punching bag, you know.
Yeah, sure.
It looks pitiful, but it's pretty strong.
You should edit like a cassette berry into your logo. Just have it hidden like a little Easter egg.
Yeah, just behind it.
Well, it was definitely a pleasure to have you join us. I know the circumstances weren't super fortunate, but I'm glad that you were able to experience this and join us, even though, of course, like Napkin having to drop out wasn't super awesome, but again, I think you did really well, and you repped Grand Island Jolteons for him, even though he couldn't. So that was a lot of respect there, and I am hoping that you'll join another league in the future, and yeah, we'll definitely get that rematch sometime.
Yeah.
So
no,
yeah,
it was really fun. It was an enjoyable thing.
I'm curious to see how you draft. I'm curious to see if you'd go for a contrary Pokemon yourself.
Oh, just the revenge. If you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah, the monster you become. But yeah, alright, this was Qazeymoto from Grand Island Jolteons. Thank you once again for joining me in the league and in this video. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, keep an eye out, because he's coming back to be a pitiful punching bag.
Yep.
Alright, tune in for some more team analysis videos coming soon. I'll be uploading them. And until then, I'll see you later.
Bye.